It was just supposed to be another Friday night in La Crosse, Wisconsin, October 24th, 1953. The kind of night where families listened to the radio, kids did their homework, and teenagers took babysitting jobs for a few extra dollars. But that night, something happened on Vine Street when 15-year-old Evelyn Hartley didn't answer the phone. Her father drove across town to check on her. The house was locked, the lights were on, the radio was playing. The furniture was overturned, a window pane was shattered, and Evelyn was gone. No screams were heard, and no one saw her leave, and she was never seen again. This is the Midnight Mystery Archive. I'm Kevin. Tonight we reopen one of Wisconsin's oldest cold cases, the disappearance of Evelyn Hartley. La Crosse, Wisconsin, in the fall of 1953 was a quiet river town, modest, Midwestern, and safe. Evelyn Hartley was just 15, a high school honor student, bookish, soft-spoken, the kind of girl who borrowed records from friends and read under the covers past bedtime. On the night of October 24th, Evelyn had agreed to babysit for the Rasmussen family on the city's north side. Their usual sitter wanted to go to a football game, so Evelyn said yes. She arrived at the house on Vine Street at around 6:30 p.m. The Rasmussens left for a college homecoming game. Their toddler daughter was already asleep upstairs. Evelyn's father, Richard Hartley, had a routine. He called his daughter during her babysitting jobs just to check in. When he tried around 8:30 p.m., there was no answer. He waited. He called again at 9, still nothing. By 9:30, he was worried enough to get in his car. When Richard Hartley arrived at the Rasmussen house, everything looked normal from the outside. The lights were on, the front door was locked, but no one came to answer. He went around to the back and found the basement window wide open. The screen was missing, so he climbed in. Inside, it looked like a struggle had taken place. A lamp was knocked over, furniture was out of place. One of Evelyn's shoes was near the door, the other upstairs. Her school books were still on the couch, her glasses broken on the floor. The child she had been babysitting was still fast asleep. Police arrived quickly. A search party of over 1,000 volunteers swept the neighborhood, the riverbank, nearby fields. Bloodhounds picked up a scent that led away from the house, but it vanished at the edge of the road. They found bloody handprints on the garage wall, a trail of footprints, a pair of bloody underwear in the nearby yard, but not Evelyn. No one had seen a car, no one had heard a scream. It was as if she had been taken by the dark night itself. The town of La Crosse changed that night. Doors that were once left unlocked were now bolted shut. Parents walked their children to school, and for the Hartley family, every day after October 24th became a day without answers. Evelyn Hartley was never seen again. By sunrise on October 25th, 1953, the city of La Crosse was no longer quiet. Evelyn Hartley, 15 years old, honor student, babysitter, had vanished without a trace, and the town was in a panic. Police launched one of the largest manhunts Wisconsin had ever seen. volunteers over 1,000 strong walked shoulder to shoulder through fields and woods. Divers scoured the nearby rivers. Dogs tracked her scent through backyards and alleyways. The trail for a time seemed promising. Bloodhounds followed Evelyn's scent down the block, into a yard, across a driveway, and then there was nothing. The scent ended at the curb, and authorities believed she had been placed in a vehicle and driven away. Investigators found bloody handprints on the garage wall. They found Evelyn's broken glasses inside the house, a shoe upstairs, a blood-stained undergarment in a neighbor's yard, but no eyewitnesses, no screams, and no sign of forced entry on the front door. The window had been pried open, likely from the outside. A stepladder had been moved beneath it. Whoever took Evelyn had planned it. Over the weeks that followed, hundreds of leads came in. Cars were spotted, strange men in alleyways were seen, footprints in the woods. None of it led anywhere. And then, 4 years later, a name entered the picture. A name that would send a chill down Wisconsin's spine. Ed Gein, the man from Plainfield, arrested in 1957 for a series of crimes so grotesque they defied imagination. Body parts found in his farmhouse, furniture made from human remains. He was a grave robber, a murderer, and perhaps something far worse. When investigators began retracing Gein's movements, they realized something disturbing. He had been in La Crosse around the time Evelyn disappeared. Gein was questioned, but denied any involvement. Authorities found no physical evidence tying him to Evelyn's case. Still, the possibility that one of America's most infamous killers was present on that October night has never stopped haunting those who remember it. By early 1954, the active search had slowed. The Hartleys never stopped looking, never stopped hoping, but the leads grew colder. A few months later, her father made a heartbreaking statement. I drive around this town every day. I look for her in every face, and sometimes I think I see her, but I know I don't. No ransom note was ever sent, no body was ever found, and the girl who left home to babysit that night in La Crosse never came home again. The town moved on, but the Hartley family never did. And neither did the question, who took Evelyn Hartley? By early 1954, the town of La Crosse was no closer to finding Evelyn Hartley. Thousands of man-hours had been spent searching rivers, woods, and basements. The FBI had joined the case, but there were no breakthroughs. What remained was a tangle of leads, confusing, often contradictory, and a growing sense that something or someone had slipped through the cracks. Over the next few years, law enforcement received hundreds of tips, many of them strange, some even cruel. She was seen in Minneapolis panhandling. Someone matching her description got on a bus near Madison. A man bragged about taking a girl in La Crosse, but then recanted. At least two individuals confessed to abducting Evelyn, but under scrutiny, both stories fell apart. One man admitted he was seeking attention, another had mental illness and offered impossible details. Each false confession reopened the wounds for the Hartley family and led nowhere. Richard and Ethel Hartley never stopped hoping. In the years after their daughter's disappearance, they kept a porch light on every night. Evelyn's room was left untouched, exactly as it had been the night she left. They gave interviews, offered rewards, followed up on even the slimmest of leads. But as time passed, something more painful than grief settled in: uncertainty, the not knowing. If she had died, we could mourn her, Richard Hartley once said. But this is like bleeding slowly forever. As the decades passed, public speculation evolved. Was it a drifter who slipped through town, vanished with her before sunrise? Was it someone local, someone who knew the house and the family's routine? Was Evelyn taken and kept alive for some time? One theory, never proven, was that she had been abducted for reasons far more disturbing than robbery or revenge, that she had been watched, chosen, that the attack was planned, precise. But without a body, without a suspect, those questions were left to echo in the dark. Eventually, the case faded from the headlines. Evelyn's photo, once printed in newspapers across the state, became something seen only in scrapbooks and cold case files. But the pain never faded in La Crosse, because what happened to Evelyn Hartley wasn't just a mystery, it was a scar. The girl who babysat on Vine Street vanished without a trace. And for generations, the town has wondered what really happened that night. By the 1980s, Evelyn Hartley had been missing longer than she'd even been alive. Her case remained open but cold, tucked into boxes of yellowed newspaper clippings and aging police reports in the Crosse Police Department's archive. To the people who lived on Vine Street, the story had become something deeper than a case file. It became folklore, not a ghost story, but something far more human, a wound that never healed. Before Evelyn disappeared, doors were often left unlocked. Windows were kept open on warm nights. But after October 24th, 1953, that all changed. Parents walked their children to school. Teenagers stopped taking babysitting jobs in unfamiliar neighborhoods. And in La Crosse, for the first time in living memory, people were afraid of the dark. Years later, some of the original detectives would revisit the case in interviews. They spoke of their frustration and their regrets. They admitted they might have missed something or someone. If we had today's technology back then, one retired officer said, I don't think she'd still be missing. But they didn't, and she is. Evelyn's parents kept her memory alive in quiet ways. They celebrated her birthday, kept her room just as it was, left the porch light burning year after year until they passed away. They never found peace. Theories still float through town conversations and internet message boards that she was taken by someone local, that she was trafficked across state lines, that Ed Gein might have been more involved than anyone realized. But there is no proof, there is no resolution, just the shattered window and a name that still echoes on Vine Street. Evelyn Hartley disappeared from a quiet home in a quiet town with no note, no witnesses, no trace, only questions, and a family that never gave up asking them. This has been the Midnight Mystery Archive. I'm Kevin. Thank you for joining us as we step back into the night Evelyn vanished. And if you find yourself walking past an old house on Vine Street, listen. The silence may still be waiting to speak.